Welcome to a special edition of Cooking Like a Pro. I'm your host, Alan D'Amato. You've experimented with the holy trinity of Cajun cooking. You've worked with mirepoix and the 5 mother sauces. I'm here today to introduce you to a new keystone ingredient that's limited only by your own imagination. I call it the Monster Mash. To make the mash, you'll need garlic, ginger, chilies, and oil. I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of money sitting on my cutting board. There goes my entire food budget for the whole week. Well, if that's what you think, you either don't know me very well or you don't know where to shop. So let's go to the Indian market. This is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. Namaste and welcome to my show. I'm here today to buy some chilies. What can you tell me about these chilies?
They're hot.
That's right. The smaller the chili, the hotter the chili. Now I notice your price is about a third of the price of my local grocery store. How can you afford to sell these so cheaply?
That's what they cost us.
That's right, and you're not going to gouge good people. Where you come from, the Monster Mash is an inalienable right. How long have they been making the Monster Mash in India?
2,000 years before Christ.
Wow, you just blew my mind. I've peeled my garlic, I've peeled and diced my ginger, and I've seeded my chilies. You don't eat the seeds from your larger peppers. Why would you eat these? They aren't digestible and they can make you sick. To seed, after I cut them in half, I take my espresso spoon and run it down the length of the chili to remove the seeds. And yes, I have learned my lesson. I'm wearing rubber gloves. So let's do the mash. I'm going to start off with a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm using canola oil. It's not only the healthiest oil, but it's the most neutral in flavor. And this is just for lubricant. Next I'll add my chilies. Ginger. And last, my garlic. If you're a traditionalist and have nothing better to do on a Friday night, you could use your mortar and pestle. You could also use a food processor. I personally don't own one of those silly things, but I do have a blender. Hey, margaritas happen. All I need to do now is turn my mixer on high. You'll need to coax it along with a wooden spoon and a little additional oil. And the Monster Mash is complete and ready for cooking. The first recipe I want to make for you today is masoor dal, or red lentils served over basmati rice. Now remember, the longer the grain of the rice, the more fragrant the rice. And if you've never taken a good whiff of a bag of basmati, you don't know what you're missing. I love this dish so much because it not only tastes great, but nothing sits in my stomach better. And remember, it's not what you eat, it's what you digest. To make this dish you'll need ghee, or clarified butter, tomato paste, garam masala, which is a spice blend similar to curry. There's a lot of blends out there. This one is specific for lentils. The star of our show are red lentils, stock or water, and last but no means least, our Monster Mash. Once your ghee melts, you can add your tomato paste and your Monster Mash. I'm going to go with about 2 tablespoons of paste. And how much mash? Well, that's up to you. I'm going to go with 3 heaping spoons. Now, the slower and longer you cook this, the better it's going to be. You see how the tomato paste is absorbed in the oil? You know it's done, and you're ready to add your lentils. I may be breaking the chef's code here, but I'm going to give you a professional cooking tip. It's true we don't use a lot of recipes. However, we do use a lot of ratios. In fact, I'm going to do an entire show for you on ratios. For this, I like to use 3 parts water to 1 part lentil. So if I'm using 2 cups of lentils, I'll need 6 cups of water. Now lentils break all the rules of dried beans and legumes. Normally all this acid would prevent a dry bean from cooking. You need to use pure water until the bean is soft. But because they're so small, these lentils are able to absorb liquid that contains acid in it, breaking all of the lagoon rules. Once your lentils are soft, you can add garam masala and salt to taste. You could even add additional monster mash at this point if it's not spicy enough for you, but that's not likely. And there you have it, red lentils served over basmati rice. The next dish I want to make for you is called palak paneer. Paneer is not only a homemade cheese made in India, it's also a name they use for anything creamy. For this recipe you'll need our ghee, onions, tomato, spinach, some mustard greens, plain yogurt, and our monster mash. I'm also going to pull a little bit of a Sandra Lee here and use a can of creamed mustard greens I bought at the Indian market. From reading the label, I learned that this has 75% calories from fat. That's more fat than in potato chips. You'd think by buying a can of mustard greens you're getting something healthy to eat. The lesson here, always read your label. By adding this to my own vegetables, I'm hoping not only to give it a traditional flavor, but to bring that percentage of calories from fat down a lot. After you soften your onions, tomatoes, and monster mash in your ghee, you're ready to add your spinach and your mustard greens. And let that cook for another 10 to 15 minutes till soft and combined. Now I know what you're thinking. Mustard greens in a spinach dish? Well, in India, they blend their greens. And I think it's a pretty good system. Because if you eat the spinach by itself, it's kind of boring tasting. The mustard greens eaten alone is kind of harsh tasting. So when you add them to the spinach, it kind of gives the dish a little more depth. You'll be eating your spinach saying, gee, why does this taste so good today? And the reason is, it's mustard greens. At this point, we can add our creamy. So I'm going to go with my yogurt. And my can of lard. My can of mustard greens. And we'll cook this for another 10-15 minutes until it's all combined. It may not be the most appetizing looking dish, but believe me, it not only smells great, it tastes great. And this is good enough to be served in any Indian restaurant. And there you have it, palak paneer. Now our monster mash is in no way limited to Indian cooking. Let's go to the Caribbean for a minute and let me show you how to make a killer jerk seasoning. In addition to our monster mash, we're going to need sugar, salt, black pepper, allspice, and clove, which I have ground by myself and left a little bit chunky on purpose. Some ground cinnamon, and again, note the ratios. I'll put this in a bag for marinating and add my monster mash. Now I'm going to do a steak. I have a T-bone here. As you can see, this has the filet and the New York strip left on. I'm going to throw this in my bag and put this in the refrigerator for about 2 days. And I guarantee you're going to have the best Jamaican jerk steak you've ever had. What are you going to do with the leftovers? Well, this will keep in your refrigerator for, say, forever. In fact, this is the original food preservative, before the reign of the chemical. You could probably distill this and run your car on it. Yes, alternative fuel, yet another use for the monster mash. Do I have to solve all of the world's problems on my show? Try running your car over Blanc sometime. Well, I hope I've motivated you here today enough to run out, buy some chilies, make the monster mash, add it to existing dishes, create new ones. The possibilities are endless. Thank you for having me in your home today. I wish you a good night.